We prefer a world where individuals were not constantly hooked to their screens, watching things such as Murife Don't Run and It's Giving Zimbabwe, and instead were constructive enough within their duties and even go to the other alternatives as to which they can be able to get leisure. Framing, 4 pieces of framing as to how today's debate looks like. Firstly, how does TikTok work? Because if we do this, then we're able to prove the delta, or rather the tipping point within why TikTok is a bad thing in and of itself. Listen. TikTok works in a way in which it utilizes a social media algorithm which necessarily synthesizes data based on what you consume as an individual, and it makes sure that you're stuck in a loophole of watching videos. You spend a large chunk of your day watching these videos through the ability to be able to maybe scroll or things like this. Literally what it does, it capitalizes on your dopamine levels just to keep you on this constant hedonistic treadmill that you're not able to maybe log out of TikTok to be able to do other constructive things. What you need to understand, and the worst point within today's debate, is that young people are the ones who are mostly going to be affected. So this looks like children, school children who've now just gotten phones, and they have the ability to be able to just want to access TikTok because they have the promise that they can be able to get more followers and become celebrities, and they can be able to get more laughs, which we feared from opening is the bad thing. Secondly, we think the rise means a couple of things in today's debate. One, it means that everyone, or rather a large chunk of society, is particularly doing this sort of thing. What it then looks like is that if you go to the matatu, people are laughing loud because they're on TikTok. Two, if you go to school, during free time, children aren't particularly going for their sports and all these things. They want to just utilize their TikTok accounts and all these things. At home, we think this is the same thing. The students are always wanting to maybe create TikTok videos. The parents are taking less time with their children because they want to also laugh within all these sorts of things. We argue again from proposition that this is illegitimate in itself. But a second thing in terms of what this rise necessarily means to within today's debate, it means then that there's a social and peer pressure which exists for individuals to be part of TikTok anyway. So if you don't spend time on TikTok, there's always an expectation from your friends that you don't necessarily relate to things which they relate to. The most of the trends which you're going to find in status quo are things which necessarily come from TikTok. All these things in terms of vines, fashion trends, even memes nowadays in terms of how maybe Murife runs and Murife chooses not to run. All these social preferences for leisure are things which you better find in TikTok. What it then means is that majority of your friends are probably going to be hooked already within TikTok in and of itself. What it then means is that there's always going to be an expectation for you as an individual within society to have access to TikTok and to be able to relate to the memes that they're able to share to you and all these sorts of things. That expectation, we posit, is a sort of pressure which is illegitimate within today's debate. 4, in terms of framing, there are other alternatives which exist for individuals to be able to just detoxify and to be able to feel happy in and of itself. You could be able to go for therapy, which nowadays is free. The world is very liberal. You could be able to access WhatsApp. And notice, we defend WhatsApp because it's a very inclusive sort of media in today's debate. Why is this the case? Two things. One, it doesn't have addictive algorithms which keep you on this constant hedonistic treadmill. But two, it enables you to be able to still communicate with the people who you preference communicating with. So you can be able to communicate with your friends, you can be able to communicate with your families, you could be able to plan how to go outside and all those things. That's what we defend from side the opening proposition and all these sorts of things. But understand, these guys might run an argument about how maybe there is going to be money as a result of TikTok. 2 observations before they run that case. 1, TikTok in itself is a monopoly. What this means is that they have no incentive to care about why you as an individual, as a random individual, would want to have a lot of money accruing as a result of TikTok. But 2, understand that many people are also doing these things. So they can't just give you all the money within TikTok and all these sorts of things. Our case is going to be particularly simple. Why this illegitimate and addictive loophole makes individuals neglect their day-to-day activities anyway. POI? This one's no case. But this is the idea here. The most individuals who are going to be hooked in society are always going to be the young children and people who just became adults, because these are the people who are probably going to be scrolling through their phones anyway in majority of the time. What you then need to understand is that they have an increased incentive through TikTok to want to continue to do this. One, majority of their friends and their peers are always just sending them these TikToks and all these trends which are accruing within social media. 2, we think they have the incentive to want to be celebrities anyway. So this would look like how you'd want to create social media TikTok TikTok videos anyway to be able to just want to keep up with how the likes you're able to get and all these sorts of things. What you then understand as a result of this framing is that these individuals are likely to spend majority of their times on their phones, and we posit that this is likely to leave them into a loophole. Because understand, at the point in time in which the expectation within society is that you're constantly posting. Your friends are posting. If you're not posting, then you're probably not part of their friends group and all these sorts of things. If you can't relate with the things they're posting, then you're not probably part of their friends group and all these sorts of things. What we think and we posit that this is likely to lead to is one, where there's a neglect of like duties which exist within status quo. So if you're a student within status quo, we think like you'd rather spend your time being able to create a TikTok video than being able to maybe do extra assignments and being able to do these sorts of things. We think this is bad for the growth of the individuals who are trying to grow up anyway. But two, we think this jeopardizes your relations with other people, because understand how TikTok works is particularly simple. You just scroll, and you're going to find videos which necessarily keep you within this loophole, this addictive loophole, because they're capitalizing on your dopamine. What we then think this jeopardizes is how you're able to relate with other individuals anyway. So you'd probably ignore your younger sister because you want to be able to keep up with the next trend which is coming up, watching Zimbabwe and all this, giving Zimbabwe and all these sorts of things. Why is this particularly bad on our side of the house? We think this is a social conditioning which enables people to normalize the preference of leisure above work, and we think this is particularly problematic at the point in time in which TikTok rags stand with side proposition. Here.